An Oklahoma police officer by the name of Daniel Holtzclaw has been convicted of rape. He apparently used his position of power to exploit women who were in underprivileged positions, the most vulnerable women who had charges against them involving drugs or prostitution. Basically, what he would do is he would stop them during a traffic violation and he would look them up, find out that they had some charges against them, and then he would proceed to either sexually assault or rape them because he knew that they were powerless and they were the least likely to tell on him. So he was found guilty on 18 of the 36 counts he was facing, including 4 counts of first-degree rape.
Man.
This guy was a monster.
Yeah, he was.
So now, a lot of times this happens systemically. This was just an incredibly literal representation of the powerful feeding on the powerless, right? Mm-hmm. And attacking them and attacking their humanity. And he did it on purpose. Look, by the way, it's not like the powerful on a macro scale don't do it on purpose. I've had Baltimore cops on the show that say, yeah, we couldn't arrest people in rich white neighborhoods because we were worried that they were the judge's son. But so we would go into the black neighborhoods and arrest them because they didn't have any power. You know, and it's not just cops that were former cops that were on this show. I've read similar accounts in other cities where they say, well, I mean, I got to arrest somebody, and so who am I going to arrest? I'm going to arrest the guy who can't complain, right? So in this guy's case, he did it for his own personal, power, kicks, and pleasure, and the things that he wanted to get out of it. So he thought, like, let me figure out who is the least powerful people in the country, the ones in my area, the ones that are the most vulnerable, and take advantage of them. The other place I saw it was in the great movie Spotlight. The abusive priests would literally figure out who didn't have a dad, who was poor, had a strategy for figuring out who were the most vulnerable, powerless kids in their parish so they could rape them. So there's this one story in the movie that's obviously out of real life where one of the priests hears that a dad of one of his kids has just died, right? And he rushes in, and the mom's like, oh my God, this really powerful priest here in Boston came to help me in my time of need. No, he came to rape their son.
Jesus.
And so, and he did, and he brought the kid for ice on that day. He took the kid to comfort him for ice cream, put his hand on his knee, and then did what he intended to do. Look, there are monsters, and this Daniel Holtzclaw is one of those monsters. And what do they do since they are? Because monsters at their core are not brave people. They're cowards. So they don't want to fight. They don't want to take on anybody their own size. What they want to do is pick on the least powerful people who can least resist, and that's what he did. And it's a great day in America that at least we have justice in this case.
Well, two things happened here, Anna, and as you guys know, also he wasn't convicted on all. Everyone who came forward as an accuser didn't really get justice in a way. I mean, but I want to quickly say one of the nice things, and it's to Cenk's point, that this guy who preyed, the powerful preying on the powerless, as you say, to see him break down in court like that, to see him become this just sniveling guy who was clearly finally found out. He got 36 years?
That's what they recommended. His formal sentencing will happen in January.
Yeah, they recommended 263 years. But Mark, you're so right. And I don't know if it makes me a bad person, but to see him crying there, it gave me some relief.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Because when they were crying as he was raping them, he didn't care. He didn't mind. But these guys, I tell you, they're all cowards. That mean that it affects them a little bit.
They can't handle it.
Yeah.
Which is why oftentimes when you do these stories of police using excessive force, they get really defensive. Because police in general get defensive. Because they can't handle a little bit of criticism. But in this case, I mean, thankfully, there was some justice served. And I like that you mentioned that he wasn't convicted of all 36 counts. That's absolutely true. There were women who testified during the case, and there was this one woman's testimony that really stood out to me. She was asked why she didn't report it immediately. And she said, well, it was my word against a cop's. And who was going to believe a woman who had a criminal record against the word of a cop? And we've set up this system where no matter who you are, even if you don't have a criminal record, a cop's testimony is believed over anyone else's. And we need to change that system. There needs to be a healthy dose of skepticism when there are cases like this.
Yeah, and so two other things I really wanted to do, the quotes here in the graphics. His attorney comes in, Scott Adams, and he says during the defense, he was aggressive, he was vigilant, and he was honest. Without people like Daniel Holtzclaw patrolling the streets, what are we?
Oh.
And a woman in the gallery yelled out, safe.
Ha!
That's terrific. That's a great
Really?
moment. That's like a movie moment.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then this unfortunate fact, which goes to the whole conversation we've been having. Between 2009 and 2014, nearly 1,000 police officers nationwide were either decertified or lost their badges for crimes like rape, sexual shakedowns, and possession of child pornography. So like this whole idea of like, no, a cop would never do that. A priest would never do that. A politician would never do that. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Sometimes they seek out those positions to do that.
Exactly.
So be careful. It doesn't mean, of course, that you should generalize or that everybody, all the priests are guilty, all the cops are guilty. No, but at the same time, be careful. That's 1,000 cops that were caught. And now remember, cops' words are taken over non-cops' words almost every time. Imagine the numbers that weren't caught.